Hello, Navigator Nation. It's been a minute, hasn't it? Let's see. Got a hot mic there and hitting the red there. Let's see if we can turn that down just a touch without messing up too many feeds there. Audio is always a trick, and then especially got some new environment here. Changing studios once again. Still working on some of the echo and that sort of thing, but we're gonna be working on that. My name is Mike Hess, as many of you may know. If you're new to the program, I am a COPD dude. I run the COPD Navigator Facebook page and YouTube channel, depending on where you're tuning in tonight. We're both on Facebook and YouTube right now. I'll say hello to my good friend Joe Walsh from the Atlanta area. Saying hello. Hope you're having a good night, Joe. For those of you, again, if you are new to the program, I run these the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. Historically, we've done some regular events. We've tried to do some educational activities. We tried to have some social hours when we were in the early throes of the ongoing pandemic. We did a daily show that tried to bring everybody a little bit more access to being social from a distance, making sure that we were able to take care of people who weren't able to get to pulmonary rehab and all that sort of thing. Lately, we've seen a few more challenges. Some of you may be aware of this, just depending on exactly how long it's been since you've watched the program, or if you follow myself or the show that my wife and I do. We've got a couple of different things going on here. I'm still trying to get back into the habit of some of the lessons that I've learned with doing this stuff live. But in any event, I've had some challenges lately. Many of you have likely noticed that content has been way down in volume and all that sort of thing. We've had a fair bit of change around here in Navigator Nation. I'll go back a couple. Well, let's see. What month is it now? It's one of those things that it's kind of a truism during the pandemic now. The last month has been the longest year ever. But going back to, I think we're looking at July, as a matter of fact, the middle of July. My wife and I went on vacation, so we were taking some time off for that. And while we were up there, she was offered basically her version of her dream job. I mean, this was we go on vacation to a place called Beaver Island, and we love it up there. She's got some family up there. She's had roots up there since she was a kid. Was basically offered her dream job. And it was hard to say no, because from my perspective, also as a respiratory therapist, there was tremendous opportunity in the rural health setting. You're doing rural health stuff. It doesn't get more remote than an island in northern Lake Michigan, right? With about 500, 600 year-round residents. Not terribly far from the mainland, so to speak. So we've also got, Charlevoix County also has a lot of potential. So it was really hard to turn that down, and we thought about it a lot. And again, this was kind of a dream job, and I'm never going to be one to tell her to not chase her dream. So she decided to take it. Now, the downside, or the difficulty here, is for a variety of reasons. It's not really a good time to pull up stakes down here in Kalamazoo yet. We've got one kid fresh out of high school, one kid in her starting her second year of college, such as it is with virtual and all that stuff, and we've still got a high schooler. And not only do we not want to disrupt his learning and disrupt his chance to get what's known as the Kalamazoo Promise, where he can get free college tuition to any place in Michigan. He's got a birth mother to contemplate and all that stuff. And so, plus, our kids, while fantastic, weren't quite ready to take on the challenge of maintaining a household and all that stuff. And we're not quite ready to sell our house. So, for a variety of reasons, it became necessary for, let's see, sorry, just trying to, doing things in a slightly different setup now, so just trying to, there we go. So now I can see some more comments coming in. All right. So I'll also say hello to Jeannie real quick. Jeannie, hope you're feeling better. Jeannie was a bit under the weather the last couple of weeks when I spoke to her last about a week and a half ago. Hope you're feeling better tonight, Jeannie. Also, our other Jeannie will interrupt to send some shout outs and thoughts, prayers, good vibes, all that stuff. Jeannie Vo, a little bit under the weather right now in the hospital, so if you can send all of your healing instincts her way in particular, I'm sure everybody. Oh. There. That should clean up the audio a little bit. I don't know how that got undone. But anyway, always a challenge, especially when you haven't done this for about 3 months now. So again, we're back in mid-July. My wife's taking her dream job. I'm here in Kalamazoo. The plan was to kind of have a bit of a transition period in order to, wind down a lot of stuff. But, again, sometimes life happens, and she ended up being able to go up there immediately. They had an immediate need. Her current employer was able to facilitate that. And so she has now been up there for a little over 2 weeks. She was able to come back home this weekend, and it was very nice, but it's been more difficult than either one of us could have guessed or anything like that. It's been a real challenge. And we know that this is not unique. We know that our position, if you watch our other show called Fight the Flight on our channel, The Best Nest, we know that we're not in unique circumstances. Our servicemen and women are separated from their families for much longer periods of time and all that stuff. But we're still really kind of dealing with the transition right now. And why I'm going into that, also take a minute to say hello to Brian, also recently under the weather. It's been quite a time for a lot of stuff, a lot of exacerbations going on, a lot of strife right now. Hopefully nobody's in the path of any of the massive wildfires out on the West Coast or any of that stuff. It does kind of put things into perspective a little bit. Our challenges are certainly not insurmountable compared to a lot of things that people are facing right now. But for my part, it's been challenging because, well, I'll just be honest. I'll come out and say it. I've been seeing signs of depression in myself. It's been difficult to kind of get motivated to do a lot of the activities that go into making a channel and doing shows and things like that. It's been difficult to do that, and so that's why I wanted to kind of do a live show tonight. Historically, I've been trying to, when I'm not on vacation and when I don't have 1,000 other things going on regarding the transition and all that stuff, I like to do, we're trying to get into the routine or the schedule of doing a Zoom webinar, a Zoom conference kind of thing where it's more of a virtual support group. Facilitates two-way communications a lot better. We've definitely got a core group of people who have participated in that. I'd always love to see more as soon as we start getting that up and running again a little bit. But I didn't quite have the bandwidth to pull that off tonight. And so I wanted to do this, but I've gotten so much support from the COPD Navigator community, the COPD community in general, that I felt that I owed kind of an explanation for why a lot of the content has slowed down and a lot of why, the attention may be wandering a little bit. Because, one of the things I'm trying to do also is facilitate as much as possible, making it easier to go back and forth. So I'm really trying to do a lot of stuff like this, for money, basically. I've got some great leads and some telehealth opportunities, and that's something I'm really excited about going forward. I've gotten in contact with an excellent company called RT Now that is developing a lot of remote patient monitoring and a lot of remote education, a lot of the things that I am really passionate about, and discovered that I'm even more passionate about than I thought during the pandemic, when I was doing this stuff every day. And I'm really excited to be hopefully linking up with an organization with their resources in the near future. But again, there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. And I know that that's something that many people, particularly in the COPD community, deal with on a daily basis. You never know what your breathing is going to be like from one day to the next. So I'm told. I haven't had to deal with that, but not knowing whether you're going to be able to go do an activity whenever we're allowed to do activities. that uncertainty weighs on you after a while. And I know I'm preaching to the choir about that, but hopefully somebody who a friend, a family member, somebody like that can kind of see this and maybe get a little bit more understanding about what it's like to have an unpredictable thing going on. Now, again, to be clear, I'm not, it's not a direct comparison or anything like that. But it does give me more of an appreciation. It's difficult to know with all the uncertainty, even at baseline, even before we throw in things like pandemic related issues or, what are things going to be like in flu season? Even without considering a lot of those things, it's really challenging to get ready to face the weeks ahead. And so, like I said, it's given me a new appreciation for what a lot of people living with a variety of chronic conditions deal with on a day-to-day basis. Again, not necessarily putting myself in those shoes, but being able to I always forget which one's the right one, to empathize or sympathize. I think it's empathize is what I'm looking for right now, to kind of understand to a degree what the experience is like. So, as I mentioned in the description, what I really need is some suggestions from you folks. Again, what are some things? What I really want to do while I'm dealing with a lot of this uncertainty and pulling myself out of bed and all that stuff. What I really need is to kind of refocus a little bit. I really need to know what kind of activities are going to give everybody the biggest bang for the buck. I mentioned we have the Zoom stuff that's going on, which is great. We have a lot of fun with. We've done harmonicas, we've done tobacco cessation, we've done a lot of that kind of stuff. But it is, if I'm looking at it objectively, there's relatively low attendance. We get a solid, half dozen people at our peak on a regular basis. We have several people who come who I'm very grateful for that have come in, week out. Whenever I send out the bat signal, they show up, and I'm very appreciative of that. But if there's something else that would be more practical, if there's other stuff that I can direct energy towards so that I can have more benefit for more people. Maybe people aren't comfortable with Zoom. I will say no. I'm not sure if Brian's still on the video or not. He's done. He was just in Joe Morrison's group, Right to Breathe. Lost my window here. They do a weekly, I believe it's a weekly thing now where they have guest speakers and things like that. And they do a fantastic job with that. So, part of me also feels like, I'm kind of reinventing the wheel there. I don't want to necessarily step on that one. That's got a great following already. And that's got a great, they do a fantastic job with it. I want to complement, I don't necessarily want to compete. I don't want to, I think, community like this works the best when we're all working together in parallel, not necessarily, again, duplicating everybody's efforts or competing or anything like that, but we're complementing each other. So, I want to know what's going to be complementary to other services out there. What does everybody need? Do we need to go back to the older school when it was, first we called it Navigator Live, and then we had Breathe TV, and now House Call. Do we do the weekly or every other week show where it's questions and answers, lesson plan and questions and answers? Do we need another support group? Do we need other times? I'm a little bit more flexible with times now. So what I really need from Navigator Nation is for folks to let me know what is helpful, because that's where I really want to focus my attention right now. With the transition, it's going to be tricky to focus on a lot of things at once. So I really want to narrow things down to where I'm going to do the most good, quite frankly. And if doing the most good is just shutting up and going away, I guess I could do that too. I don't want to. I get a lot of gratification and satisfaction of producing these things and creating this stuff, and at least having the idea that I'm helping folks. So I don't want to. But if it's too saturated and nobody has any ideas, then that's something I would have to accept. I serve at the pleasure of the community. Basically, this is something that I started many years ago, but I've always counted on community involvement to make it grow, and that has done a great thing. So Brian says, miss the support group. Right to Breathe is only every few weeks for COPD. All right, so that would be, that's good news. That's something. Hey, Shar, also joining in our international component there, chiming in from the Great White North. So one vote for missing the support group, and that's good to know, because that is something that I really enjoyed, and so that tells me that I got to do a better job at promoting the darn thing. So, and then getting back to doing it consistently. So I guess what I'm probably going to be doing over the next couple of weeks is maybe doing a little bit of market research, finding out what kind of good, what times are good. Is there a day of the week that's better than others? In large part, the days are going to be a little bit more flexible again. We kind of landed on Monday for a while for no particular reason other than for a while my wife and I were doing a weight loss support group on Wednesdays, and Right to Breathe was on Tuesdays when it was on, and I was a little too busy on Thursdays, and nobody's going to tune in on Friday, so kind of process of elimination, we ended up on Monday. I am assuming, so Right to Breathe is now going every 3 weeks. Okay. So I'm assuming that evening is probably better for folks. So, and that's very doable these days. So what I'd like to do over the next couple of weeks is maybe just kind of take a little bit of a formal hiatus from doing a lot of production and coming back and doing it the right way. In a time where people are able to engage, in a setting where people are able to engage. And so, like I said, everybody can get the biggest bang for the buck. I really liked the idea of, when we were doing the support group, we kind of had a rotation of stuff. The idea was 1 week we were going to do harmonicas for the health of it, which is a great way to be social and a great way to actually get some exercise in those lungs a little bit, and to just have kind of a fun time. So we'd do that. We would do 1 week that was all dedicated to tobacco cessation support. People who have been on the path, people who have successfully quit for years, can be great role models for people who are still struggling with it. And we know that boatloads of people with COPD are still struggling to quit smoking, which is, objectively right now the best thing one can do for their lungs, but that's also a lot easier said than done. So we're going to do a week of that, and then a week of, like I said, the older version of Navigator Live, Breathe TV, all that stuff, where we actually do a bit of a lecture. And this is kind of the route that Right to Breathe goes to. They have a guest speaker like Brian that will come in, or I think Brian Carlin was a speaker a couple weeks ago, pulmonologist down from the Pennsylvania area. So I think now Jeannie's mentioning and agreeing with Brian, like to do the support group. So I think we're probably going to go back to that then. That's good to hear. A little bit of affirmation there. That never hurts. So I appreciate that. I suspect we'll go back to that. I suspect we'll probably do the 6 o'clock hour Eastern time. We'll just have to figure out, is there the last question, I guess, that I would throw out, is there a better day? And I'm going to maybe do some polling in the group and on the Facebook page. Just to try to figure out, is there a day of the week that's better? Is there, again, I don't want to step on toes or anything like that. I know there's a lot of other stuff that's going on. June also mentions a support group. Thank you, June, and welcome. I don't want to step on other good programs. I know that, for example, the COPD Foundation tends to do stuff kind of mid-afternoon, late afternoon. So that's why, and then, I still currently have a bit of a day job that I'm going to be sticking with until I can get some of these more virtual options. Monday, Wednesday, it's funny. Wednesday, we have a history on Wednesday, and then June says Monday. It's funny. So this whole thing started, I believe it started on Wednesdays, and I think we might have moved to Fridays for a minute or something like that. But Wednesday has been a traditional home for a lot of our webinar type of stuff. But I'm seeing right now a little bit more compelling stuff for Monday. It seems to be available for everybody, and again, that's totally fine. Even early enough so that you don't have, if you're a football watcher, you don't even miss Monday Night Football, as that is apparently coming back soon, for better or for worse, depending on how with the lessons of some of the other sports leagues right now and how they're dealing with this stuff. So I'm glad to hear that Monday is good. All right, so I'm glad to hear that is of some benefit. So again, that tells me that I need to do a better job of promoting it, and that's also where I can ask you guys for some help too. Those of you who have been regular members, if you can, when I get I'll start up a rotation again. We'll probably be doing Mondays. It looks like this was some pretty easy market research after all. You'll probably be doing Mondays at 6 Eastern time. Just to make it a little bit more conducive to my schedule and that sort of thing. And then, what kind of topics you want to see, what kind of things should we discuss? And then, again, I want to go back to that rotation of, we'll have some harmonica time, we'll have some topic time, we'll do a couple of different things. The fourth thing was kind of a wild card week because I couldn't think of a fourth regular topic to do besides the harmonicas and the smoking cessation and the lesson plan of the week, or I guess the month in this case. But yeah, so that's what that's what I'm counting on everybody to do. Is you're speaking up loud and clear already, and I appreciate that we get back to the support group stuff on Monday nights. And so let me know what else you want to see. Let me know what kind of topics we need to hit. We've got all of our greatest hits over on YouTube. It's easiest to find them on YouTube, although I imagine you can find most of them on Facebook as well. But it's a lot easier to find them on the YouTube channel, COPD Navigator, over there. But times change. When we were first doing this, we didn't have any long-acting anticholinergics that you could put in a nebulizer. Now we have Yupelri and Lonhala Magnair. We've got new medications coming out all the time. We didn't have things like the valves or the coils. We didn't have things like Brian has the Life 2000. We didn't have things like that. So even the older topics are great to come back and readdress. But I want to know what the hot topics are. I want to know what's on people's minds, especially in a time where we all probably need a little bit of COVID relief, basically. So, Shar looking good at Mountain Time. So that's let's see if my math is right. That would be 4:00 p.m. or 1600 for anybody who's not in the U.S. They use a 24-hour clock in Canada. I don't know. But in any event, it'd be about 4:00 Eastern Time, or 4:00 Mountain Time. I don't know. You can kind of see how my brain is a little bit mushy these days. It's been a challenge. We compressed 3 months of work into about 2 weeks before she left, and then there were some things that were locking down afterwards. And I do have to give a shout out to my kids. They've been fantastic. I've had a couple of different people checking in on me, so I really appreciate that. And I know I've had a couple other people tell me that I've gotten endless good vibes from people, which is again, it really puts things in perspective because I know my issues are relatively low compared to what a lot of people face day in and day out. So I really appreciate everybody who has sent well wishes and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so Shar clarifies that do not use a 24-hour clock except military and healthcare. So that's basically just like the U.S. I have it in my head. I guess I don't know 100% sure if this is accurate or not, or just my imagination, but it seems like over in Europe, they use the 24-hour clock a lot. So I guess I was thinking maybe it was one of those things like the metric system where everybody uses it except for us. So I don't know, but it sounds like that clarifies things a little bit. So. All right, so I have been talking quite a bit about me, but I want to get back to, I don't know how many people we still have on the call or I put to sleep or what have you, or the video, I guess I should say. But I want to talk about you. We'll give this is some great time for, as I mentioned earlier in the group with Joe, when Joe was asking about it. I don't really have a set topic for tonight because, again, I just kind of wanted to give an update about where things stood and why I've been rather quiet lately and all that stuff. And again, some of you may know that, and some of you may not care, and that's fine too. But I felt that I should throw it out there just so that we can get back on track, because I really do love the Navigator Nation community. I really do love all the things that we've been able to do together over the last 6 years, and I want to make sure that they're continuing in a way that's going to be helping the most people. So. Again, I'll throw it out there for some questions. See what's on. You know what I could do real quick, as a matter of fact. While I'm waiting for questions to come in, one thing we haven't done in quite a while on any version of our programming here, and I may have to do it. I guess I'll have to do it on my phone because I was trying to look up the computer here, but let's see what is new. Oh, I know one thing that's new is one thing we've talked about. Speaking of medications, a year ago, I think it was, a new triple therapy medication became available in Japan, and that medication has now been approved in the U.S. It's called Breeze Tree. It is like I said, a triple therapy. So it's got both kinds of bronchodilators in it, and an inhaled corticosteroid. Similar to what's on the market right now is called Trelegy. The big difference here is Breeze Tree is meter dose inhaler, the traditional kind of puffer deal, whereas the Trelegy is dry powder inhaler. Now, of course, I've said many, many times, the right tool for the right patient. So for some people, dry powder inhaler is fantastic, but for a lot of people with COPD and other chronic issues, it's difficult to generate enough force to get that powder out. So meter dose inhalers and soft mist inhalers can give us a really nice balance between not needing that inspiratory force, but also giving us a little bit of portability. We can do a lot of stuff in the nebulizer now, but depending on the model that you have and all that stuff, it's not always. They're all portable because these days most of them are fairly small and compact, but they do need a power supply, and many times insurance carriers or Medicare won't pay for that power supply, so it's not really a truly portable solution or on-the-go solution. So let's see. Breeze Tree is budesonide, which is a long-standing inhaled corticosteroid, glycopyrrolate, and formoterol. So basically, if you're familiar with Symbicort, that is formoterol and budesonide. And if you're familiar with Bevespi, that is glycopyrrolate and formoterol. So this is kind of like a combination of Bevespi and Symbicort. And covering all three things at once. Now, it is not yet quite available to market yet. I don't know what the timeline is on that, but it definitely has been approved by the FDA. So we can start keep an eye out for that. So let's see what else is new in the world of COPD. So Shar's also got a suggestion. Good topic is those who suffered a COVID infection but can't get rid of some symptoms, the long haulers. And yes, I know we have at least one long hauler in the group. As a matter of fact, she's been pretty open about that. And it's an interesting topic because it's something that I think has kind of gone from what I have read about it. It's kind of gone under recognized a lot because we usually have this idea of you get a viral infection and eventually you get over it. Now we also know that there are certain viral infections, notably like chickenpox, where you can actually have some lifelong complications from it. If you had chickenpox as a kid, you might get shingles as an adult, which is a lot more painful and a lot more difficult to deal with. So we do know that there are a lot of these viruses and stuff that have long-term effects, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID. But beyond that, when we're talking about respiratory viruses, we kind of have this idea of, well, you get sick and then you get better. And that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case with COVID. We're seeing a lot of these long hauler type people where they're having symptoms for a very long time. And I have read many cases where healthcare providers actually just kind of don't believe the people. And they're like, well, it's got to be something else now. You should be getting better. And that's not the case, obviously. So that is definitely an interesting idea. And we're going to be looking more into that. So, all right. So we do actually have, which is kind of cool, we have some more COPD updates. For a long time, pretty much every research was stalled because it was all COVID all the time. So speaking of Breeze Tree, this is from a site called COPD News Today. Let's see. So this was data that was released. Now this is an interesting spin on it. This is not a marketing or approval angle I have seen before. But the company AstraZeneca, the company that makes Breeze Tree, presented data at the European Respiratory Society Virtual International Congress, which just wrapped up today. Excuse me. They have outperformed, so Breeze Tree outperformed Bevespi, which is their duo therapy, in reducing the rate of moderate or severe exacerbations in people with COPD during all seasons of the year. So, we do have some degree of seasonal or cyclical stuff going on. I would argue that really depends person to person because, depending on how much airway reactivity you have or, traditional asthma you might have, your allergies, things like that. Maybe you're more prone to exacerbations in the spring or the fall. If you're sensitive to heat and humidity, it might be summer. If you might be sensitive to the cold, just depending on your living circumstances, you're more exposed to people in the wintertime. But according to this data, which I haven't really investigated much yet, a phase 3 trial, said that so previous results showed it significantly lowered the frequency of exacerbations compared with other therapies, which is good. And then post retrospective analysis of the trial results done after it was completed says it was across all seasons compared to Bevespi. So that's pretty interesting. And what's also interesting is, and again, without digging deeper into the data, and I'm prompted by this by reading the name of one of the investigators about on this because this was something he mentioned while we were at a conference, definitely last year. So historically, we've all seen the advice that we need to be really careful using inhaled corticosteroids with people with COPD because it can increase your risk for pneumonia. Now, it's sometimes difficult to tease out what's a pneumonia and what's a COPD exacerbation or which came first if they both happen. But we know that it's usually a bad thing. We want to try to avoid steroids as much as possible. But with some additional studies that have come out in the last couple of years, the question has really become, do we want to avoid steroids or do we want to avoid one in particular? The steroid called fluticasone, which is a component of a lot of it's one of the older ones on the market. It's been a component of a combination medications for quite some time. Is it possible that it's something about that molecule that actually makes you more susceptible to pneumonia? We haven't really been able to lock that down because the vast majority of the clinical trials have used a fluticasone containing compound to highlight that. So more and more data is coming out that, again, might swing the pendulum back a little bit more toward using inhaled corticosteroids again. It's going to be interesting to see how that progresses. All right. So another interesting thing here. This came out September 1st. Again, we're on COPD News Today. Men in particular, I guess, in the journal Respiratory Research says men with moderate to severe chronic obstructive pulmonary disease who drank a beverage composed of whey protein fortified with magnesium and vitamin C had lower levels of the inflammation-associated protein interleukin 6. But perhaps more importantly, at least to my mindset, improved muscle mass and strength and a better health-related quality of life were also reported by those who consumed the beverage. So what this is saying is, we know that for a variety of reasons, it's really easy to get malnourished in COPD. If all of your energy is going toward shopping and cooking and food prep and, oh, by the way, breathing, you're going to be really tired by the time it comes time to eat. And so a lot of people don't get the nutrients they need, particularly protein. Protein is kind of your main muscle mass construction block, building block kind of thing. And it's difficult to get that sometimes because, well, like I said, for a variety of reasons. So it's easier to get it when you can just have it. So, your protein shakes, this is why, a lot of times when people become that really emaciated or what we call cachectic, the skin and bones kind of thing, we want to put them on Boost or, things like that. So, definitely something to consider in COPD. Now, again, if you have forms of COPD that, cause you to have, if you have less activity and you're putting on a little bit too much weight, that can still be malnutrition. You still need to make sure you're getting the appropriate nutrients and the appropriate ratios. So it's good to see that just by having some protein shake, basically, you can really back up some of that stuff and reverse some of that stuff. So this was, let's see, 250 milliliters of the fortified beverage daily containing 16 grams of whey protein plus the magnesium and some vitamin C. So 250 milliliters, that's not much. That's 8.5 ounces. So one protein drink a day can clearly make a pretty significant difference. Again, this study looked specifically at men, but I would suspect that to one degree or another, it's going to help in women too. It's just maybe a matter of, do you drink more? Do you drink less? And it's really hard to drink too much protein or to take in too much protein because it's one of those things that in many cases, your body will just excrete when it doesn't really build up or anything. So let's see. So we got a couple other things. So Jeannie says, we've all been feeling depressed. COVID has changed everyone's life. Then, like you, we have personal lives that present its own issues. I hope we all feel we can share each other and brighten each other's day. And yeah, absolutely. That's selfishly kind of why I came on here today. I wanted to be the one that goes first, maybe, perhaps. But COPD Navigator has always been intended to be a safe place for sharing your experience. We want to make sure people have good information and all that stuff, and that can come from me. But to me, there's really no substitute for peer learning. I tell people all the time, and I was trying to highlight this earlier tonight even, I can't tell you that I know how it feels to have COPD because I don't. I can relate to certain aspects of it. I had weight troubles my whole life. So I know the psychology between eating healthier and quitting smoking. Again, I'm seeing that day-to-day variation or that struggle, that uncertainty. I can understand some of those things from an intellectual level, but I haven't lived that life. I haven't walked that path. So I'm really excited to see that grow again. I want to make sure that this continues to be a safe spot. And I do, sometimes you just need to commiserate a little bit. And I know, I've had some people tell me that that's one of the things that they've missed most about pulmonary rehab is you used to be able to go to that and just say, boy, this sucks. And your pulmonary rehab buddy would be like, yeah, it really does. And you'd be like, yeah, okay, well, we're in it together. So, I want to bring that aspect at least to a lot of people again. And because, sometimes it just helps to have that shoulder to lean on for a little bit. And we got a couple things from Joe here. Get your flu shot. Yes, please. I know people. I know there's a whole thing about, well, it doesn't do any good, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Please, 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 please get your flu shot. Please get the whatever pneumonia vaccine you're eligible for. I know there's a sequence, or sometimes it depends on age and all that. So there's certain combinations you have to get it in. Get flu shot, get pneumonia shot. We'll touch a little bit of controversy on the COVID shot, because it does seem that inevitably there is going to be perhaps we should call it the SARS-CoV-2. We'll go with the molecular name of the thing instead of the disease name. There's going to be a vaccine at some point. I'm not going to delve too much into the politics of it, other than to say it has been politicized, because, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes as scientists and clinicians, we can kind of get into our own heads a little bit and, wait for the absolute perfect data before we make a clinical decision or anything like that. And sometimes we do need somebody to crack the whip a little bit. But we also, again, it's kind of like when we've talked about snake oil and things like that on here, we have to look at what the motivations are for people pushing a particular product or something like that. I will tell you that from a public health standpoint, from a respiratory standpoint, from a medical clinician standpoint, I would be very leery of accepting any vaccine for myself or my family members that hasn't been through a couple of rounds of testing and probably been on the market for 6 months. Again, we talk about relative risk all the time. We talk about a lot of these things, but we need to know what some of the effects are, and it's just not possible to be testing as robustly as we should be, and as we have done for vaccines in the past. In the time frames that have been thrown out there, October, November, even December would be iffy. I would want to see something on the market for a while before I took it, before I gave it to a family member, and before I advised anybody else to do it, because I would have a hard time dealing with the effects of, if I promoted something, somebody took it, and a month later, either it didn't do any good or they had some kind of really terrible reaction to it. We just saw it today. Was it today or yesterday? One of the vaccine trials has been paused because somebody had an unexpected, unexplained illness. So these things happen, and sometimes they happen months on. But at some point, we are going to have a safe, effective, proven SARS-CoV-2 vaccine on the market. At which time I would encourage you to take that. Anybody. And I'm sure somebody's going to ding me on an exception here or somewhere along the lines too, but everybody should take any vaccine that they can get and tolerate. There are people who cannot tolerate vaccines. There are people who have bad reactions to the components of a flu shot and can't have this and can't have that. But that's what makes it so important for everybody else to be getting those things, so that we can protect those people. And when we stop doing these vaccines, that's when we start seeing these clusters of things like mumps and measles and all these things that we've eradicated for decades starting to come back and have real consequences. So please get whatever vaccines you are comfortable with, comfortable with the safety of. But anything that's been on the market and approved for a while, please get that. Flu, pneumonia, all that stuff. Yeah. Just touching back a little bit, I don't want to get Joel too far lost here. Needed that protein tip. Thanks, Mike and Kelly. I will definitely be passing that on to Kelly. She actually, I heard from her not terribly long ago. She is safely back on the island now after, again, she rode up there. She's got her mom visiting for a couple of days, who took her back from Kalamazoo this morning. So they are safely back on the island, getting comfortable. She's really excited. She's been staying with an aunt, but she finally gets to move into her place for the winter, I believe, on Monday. So she's excited about that, and it's an exciting time, just, stressful. So Shar throws out herd immunity, and yes, that's the thing. But in order to get to that herd immunity, we have to have a lot of people either already immune, or having the vaccine. You know, we're talking like 80% of the population, and we're nowhere near that. I know that's been thrown out there as a theory for what we should be doing with COVID, but we are way, way, way underneath that, and there would be a lot of sacrifice in every sense of the word to get to that point. Again, that's not necessarily something I'm comfortable with. So, all right. So we've been online, I think about 45 minutes by the time I got all the bugs worked out again. Let's see. So I'm not seeing a lot of other questions come through, which is cool. We peaked up to a couple people there. So not too bad for a night where we had virtually no notice, but we're going to get back into a routine. It's possible we might even bring back the regular Facebook lives and things like that, but I'm going to take probably the next couple of weeks here. I'm looking at maybe relaunching by October, because if we're going about 2 weeks, then I actually get to go up to see Kelly in 2 weeks, so I don't want to commit too much right there. And then, like I said, I want to have a couple of things prepared. Want to see how things are going. And, so we're probably going to pause some of the, a lot of the live stuff. Of course, you can always post questions to our Facebook page. You can always, we're always looking for more conversation in the group. If you're having a bad day, let us know. We've got lots of shoulders to lean on in there. And like Jeannie said, we can brighten each other's day pretty easily. It's a great supportive group. Of course, I'm a little bit biased by a little bit biased, but it's a great supportive group that a lot of people have put a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into. So that's not going anywhere. Just trying to figure out what is the best look for a lot of the other media. So that's going to take some time. Hopefully, by the time October rolls around, I'll have a little bit more certainty about what my job is going to look like, and then that will remove some of my uncertainty and confusion and anxiety and all that stuff, and that'll go a little bit better. So with that, seeing no more questions coming through, I think we'll go ahead and call that a special. May pop through here and there, I kind of like the impromptu things. So while but I don't want to commit to anything. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We'll see what the fever is like. We'll see if we get a lot of, Shar says by October, her routine will be set. Absolutely. Hey, Russell checking in. We've got a truly international compilation tonight. We've got the US, we've got Canada, and we've got Russell checking in from Australia. Thank you, Russell. It's good to see you again. Good to hear from you again. I haven't been paying very close attention to a lot of stuff lately. Like I said, I've been passively absorbing some stuff. Haven't really been interacting much, but it's always good to see you. I will definitely say hey to Kelly. Thank you, Jeannie. And take care of the one they call Mike House. I appreciate that. It reminds me of actually a reference from Star Trek at one point that Dr. McCoy has given Captain Kirk a pep talk one time and says something along the lines of there's trillions of unique individuals in the universe. Don't be too hard on the one named Jim, or something along those lines. But I appreciate that. So you have definitely brightened my day. So. And I look forward to doing that again for everybody else very soon. So take care, everyone. And I will be seeing you very soon. So until then, as always, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Keep breathing lightly. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for spending part of your Wednesday here, and I'll see you again real soon.